also, as I welcome in our good friend Lloyd Vance, we will be streaming our Hoops games with a very familiar friend of ours, my friend, Mr. Omar Bashir in the Heritage Sports Radio Network.
Nice. He's a great guy, and that's a good opportunity for him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I told Omar, just plop some of these games on XM, will you? But then I had to say a kind word about the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't really know if we can start. As I mentioned, we welcome in our good friend Lloyd Vance, Vance's View at 5:15 on Tuesday. Let's start with the Cowboys. I mean, they were getting smacked around 30-0. They lose at 30-16. I can't. How in the world? Explain to me how Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. This is amazing. This guy keeps Prescott in there coming off an injury, and then they score a touchdown. The guy doesn't even kick an onside kick. I mean, how are they going to win a Super Bowl? Are they going to do it in spite of McCarthy?
Well, yeah, his resume is glistening, but he makes some bad decisions in game, and his team does have a big lead in this division, but something's awry, and that they were coming off a bye, and you thought they would come out and blow the doors off a Denver team, and it was Denver that was more physical. They ran the ball downhill on them, and the Dallas really just didn't show up in this game.
That's a really good point you bring up. They're coming off a bye, and that's typically when coaching. You figure you have some good coaching. They had the extra time, the extra rest, I should say, and we just didn't see it. And that's embarrassing, which kind of opens up into play the rest of the NFC. Because if you really break it down and you look at some of these teams right now, I had the Falcons on the road against the Saints. So the Saints, instead of going to 6-2, lose at 27-25. Now they're sitting at 5-3. The Vikings are out of it. The Eagles are out of it. The Packers fall to 7-2. Then you got the Cardinals in there 8-1. The Rams stubbing their toe. Bigger surprise for you? Was it Denver? Was it Tennessee without Henry? Or was it Buffalo losing to Jacksonville?
Well, it had to be Buffalo losing to Jacksonville. I just don't know how that happened. And we've talked about the Bills as a Super Bowl contender and Josh Allen, the quarterback, being the MVP candidate, but they just did not show up in this game, and we're at the midpoint of the season, and you see all these upsets, Q, and you're just wondering who you can trust, because you're right, it just a lot of these teams, they let underdogs just jump on them and then kind of rolled over.
Yeah, I was really shocked by how poorly the Rams play. I'm texting with my buddies, and I'm like, they're saying Kupp could be an MVP. I'm like, first of all, NFL's never had a wide receiver as an MVP. And then they're like, well, a kicker did. I was like, yeah, 9 games in 82. I'm like, Matthew Stafford right now is the favorite. What does he do? He throws a horrible pick. I texted a couple minutes later. He's still the favorite. What does he do? He throws a pick 6. I mean, how about the Titans on the road defensively really getting to the Rams? And, we'll talk about the Rams in a moment, but how about the Titans and their defensive front? I mean, they were just absolutely just so persistent and relentless. I love what they're doing. I had them making a deep run into the playoffs. All of a sudden, they have won 5 straight, and they're really putting up a ton of points. But defensively, they're really doing a good job.
Yeah, Q, I always thought they'd win the AFC South, but they're really showing you a lot in terms of just what kind of team they are. Mike Vrabel has built. This team is in that Patriot way. Next man up. They had Peterson come in. He scored a touchdown. Yeah, he didn't get a lot of yards rushing. But that defense that you're talking about, Simmons had 3 sacks, fired with the pick 6, and they were just dominant in this game. And they said, you know what? All right, no King Henry. We're just going to go out there and roll and see what we can do. And the Rams, on the other side of it, they're another team that they were a heavy favorite, and they just thought, oh, okay, they're going to come in here and roll over. But Tennessee came to play in this game, and they're showing that they may be, high up there in the AFC. The AFC, I still believe, is wide open, but they're definitely a contender. They're sitting at the number 1 spot right now.
Yeah, well, listen, can you imagine now if they were to get Henry back? I mean, I don't know how much. We had an anytime AP touchdown the other day, which was nice. But they've got the Saints, the Texans, the Pats, the Jags coming up, all winnable games, man. So you might see that 5-game winning streak stretch to 8 or 9. And then on the other side, we mentioned the Rams. Is this just kind of a stubbing of the toe, so to speak, or does that offensive line, does it concern you a little bit if you're a Rams fan?
It should, because that offensive line is a little older, and they replaced some players, particularly at center. They replaced that position this season, and they think they're going to be a high-flying team and throw the ball down the field and make a lot of big plays, but that line's got to give Stafford some protection, and then they still have to find a semblance of a running game. So, they have a tough game this week. It's a divisional game. They're going to San Francisco on Monday Night Football. They need to show that they're still one of the top contenders out there.
Again, Lloyd Vance joining us, Vance's View. Let's get into a couple things in the NFC East. A couple guys were asking me what I think about Washington going forward. I mean, I think they're staring down the barrel of a 5-12 type of season, to be quite honest. The Giants, even at 3-6, win a couple more games, you get in the mix. Now, they'll have a bye. Then they got Tampa on Monday night, and hopefully they get some reinforcements back. I think their defense over the last several weeks has really played well, has shown you that they're very opportunistic. I think them and the Colts are the only teams in the league that have a turnover in every game. So how about the Giants and all of a sudden this defensive turnaround? You almost get the sense this is who they are. This is their MO.
Yeah, the Giants are playing tough, but Joe Judge is kind of trying to turn the ship around, and you saw with Xavier McKinney, he had 2 picks, 1 for pick 6, and this team, they jumped all over the Raiders. The Raiders had a tough week. We all know about the Ruggs situation. And the Raiders, another team coming off a bye, they just don't play well. They're 3-16 their last 19 times come off a bye. So they go in there, and they just underestimated the Giants. And the Giants are talking about, yes, they were injury depleted, but that defense stepped up, and then they were making some big plays, hitting Carr and just shutting down the receivers on the outside. So it was a good win for the Giants. And at this point in the season, you can't count anybody out. Yes, Dallas has that 2.5-game lead in this division, but the Giants, they have their chances coming up off this bye.
I said they should fire Garrett during the bye week. I'm being extremely serious. I'm not even joking about this because they had the really nice first drive with Jones to Ingram, who's so frustrating, but a nice throw and catch for the touchdown. And then they force feed the run. They don't throw the ball to the wide receivers at all. You've got Galladay and Tony out there. I don't understand in a league where you can throw for 280 and a couple touchdowns a game and score 25 points, why this team is averaging 19 points a game and their quarterback's only thrown 8 touchdown passes.
Yeah, they're very conservative in their game plan. And without Saquon, I don't know why, because they're not going to have much of a running game with that offensive line. We've talked over and over again about how these guys need to get better up front. And Jones can make some plays down the field. I know he has the fumbling issues, but they got some receivers out there, and they brought Galladay in there for a reason. So, why not give them the opportunities down the field? And a lot of these secondaries in the NFC East, they're not stopping anybody.
Yeah, my concern also, Lloyd, is that they're 3-6. So right now, because Chicago lost, I keep needing the Bears to keep losing. The Giants would have the 7th and the 8th overall pick. Now, all of a sudden, they win a couple games. They go on this run. Now you got Gettleman returning. You got 2 in the top 10. I mean, this guy should be nowhere near the war room come April. And I know a lot of Giant fans tweet at me, and they're like, you know what, just tank it, just tank it. I don't see that happening because Joe Judge going into the season after 1 year was already on the hot seat. And I just, it's almost like this tough proposition if you're a Giants fan. Do you want them to finish 7-10, 8-9, maybe 9-8? Or do you want them to kind of win 4 or 5, 6 games and have two draft picks in the top 10?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, and we've seen this before around the NFL last year, particularly the Bears. They made that run, and they had to bring Matt Nagy back. And, it's a situation where you don't want to be in that no-man's land when you're picking at his draft, and you're near the high teens, you're out of the playoffs, but you're still picking kind of low. So, the talent kind of drops off after the top 10, and that's something they're going to have to mitigate. But, they're going to try to win these games. We know football players, they want to go out there and win, and we're very, very competitive. So, we're just going to have to monitor the Giants out there. And then the whole NFC East as a whole is just a big question mark. Dallas, they're probably going to be out in front, but the Eagles aren't playing well either.
Are you, if you were buying stock right now, where are you at with Arizona? Would you load up on the Cardinals, or you're still not a believer in the Cardinals?
No, I had to load up on him. I mean, that was Colt McCoy out there. And he played another great game. I watched a lot of this game, and you had James Conner had 3 touchdowns, running for 173 total yards in the game, 11 touchdowns overall in the season to lead the NFL. So, they look like a very dangerous team. And then defensively, Buda Baker's make a lot of plays, and Simmons is really coming along as a Swiss Army knife on that defense. So, I have to believe in them at this point, and it's looking like Kyler Murray's going to be able to play this week to overcome that ankle injury.
Who's really played well for them, and I was ticked off that the Giants got rid of him, was Marcus Golden. I mean, this guy's a tackler, a machine. I think he's already got 9 sacks already, which his career high was 12.5 back in 2016. Giants let him walk. Good pickup by Arizona. You mentioned that defense. They're playing lights out. They're so opportunistic. I mean, you look at their point differential, it's plus 122. All right, so a couple things of note over the weekend. We saw Kansas City and Green Bay. No Aaron Rodgers, obviously, for Green Bay. But, man, I still look at Kansas City, and I think their offense is broke. I really do. And I'm wondering, can they just turn it on? I feel as though it just might not be the year for Kansas City.
Yeah, Q, and this may be that Super Bowl hangover that we see with a lot of teams that lose in the Super Bowl. And KC, they're winning games, which is good for them and their fans, but it's an ugly win. They win 13-7 this week, and they only have 237 total yards, and they only ran 63 plays. And Mahomes is not driving the football down the field. He was 0-5 on deep attempts and not getting the ball to Tariq as much as he needs to. And Kelsey's really fell off the face of the earth. And then their running game with Darrell Williams is just very disappointing to watch. So they're winning these games, but they're going to have to clean things up if they want to be a playoff contender.
And then you saw last night, the officiating stinks in the NFL. We know that. But how do you watch a game like that, even if you don't have a dog in the fight, whether you're a Bears or a Steelers fan, and you kind of deal with that type of officiating? I mean, the Bears not only had to deal with sloppy play, but they were also fighting against the officiating. I mean, it's just I don't get it. It's just not. And then at insult to injury, the broadcast thinks that Santos' 65-yarder hit the crossbar, the lower bar. I'm thinking to myself, what the hell game are you guys watching? But anyway, they had the pass interference call, right? That set up Pittsburgh field goal. You had the illegal block in the second, which negated that 1-yard touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham. And the Steelers are flagged 6 times for 30. I mean, that's ridiculous. And the Bears are flagged 12 times. That's too many. I mean, when you kind of look at the officiating, say enough is enough.
Yeah, and they got to kind of step back and let these guys play. And too often the game play is just slow and it's not sloppy. And it's hard to watch, with all these penalties. You talk about the 12 penalties for the Bears, which is just a ton. And every time you turn around where there's a first down or even a touchdown, you're like, is there any laundry on the field? So it was disappointing for them. The Bears actually showed me a lot of fight in this game. And Justin Fields is coming along. I know he didn't win the game, but he was making some plays out there.
All right, before we get to Week 10 and some of these lines, give me your game ball.
Game ball had to go to the other Josh Allen, the defensive end for the Jaguars. He was just incredible in this game. 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception. It was a 9-6 ugly win for the Jags, so he definitely led the way for him.
I have a feeling your lackey is probably going to be a quarterback that struggled. I don't know yet, so I'll let you disclose that to the audience.
I must have a towel in my hand, but yes, it totally is. Packers quarterback Jordan Love did not look ready for prime time. Man, he was hard to watch. 19 to 34, only 190 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and he targeted Devontae 14 times, but only hit him 6 times. So it just showed you that he was very erratic in this game, and they better figure out something with Rodgers, maybe give him an extension.
You think so? First of all, listen, I think his comments, it's funny too. Everyone was killing McAfee for not opening his mouth. That was probably the best thing to not do, because you actually realized, or you got to peel the curtain back and what Aaron Rodgers is really thinking. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I don't know, because if they get bounced again, or they get to an NFC championship, but they don't win it, I think he's gone. I mean, I don't think he wants to be around Green Bay. I think all of a sudden he really hasn't endeared himself to a lot of the fans. I think they're looking at him. And part of me I think subconsciously, if you're Rodgers, you kind of wanted to see what transpired on Sunday to show the franchise, hey, you drafted this guy, you might be stuck with him.
Yeah, and Brian Gutekunst is the GM there, and there's no love lost between him and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers had a smirk on his face when he watched the way that Jordan Love played, and obviously this whole COVID and immunized versus vaccinated, he's just really brought this mess on himself, Aaron Rodgers, and the team is suffering, and it may be a situation where, they move on next year without either of them, because right now, Love just does not look like the guy. They obviously had traded up in 2020 to get him the first round, and he's just not prepared out there. So, it'll be interesting this week to see how it turns out, because Rodgers can't come off of the COVID list until Saturday at the earliest, and then they're playing Seattle on Sunday.
Yeah, and the line in that game as it stands, I don't believe there is even a line out yet. Let me just double check. Right now it's Green Bay laying 3. I actually saw it open at 3.5, so we'll see how that plays out. All right, so speaking of some of these lines, way too high already. I mean, I took the Steelers last night. I teased it. I'll probably close it with the Ravens laying 7.5 against Miami. But then you look at the Dallas Cowboys. They are laying 9 against Atlanta. Atlanta almost fumbled away that win against the Saints. Atlanta's an enigma. I mean, if you think about it, right? They lose to the Eagles. They got blown out by the Bucs. They beat the Giants. They lose to Washington. They win a couple in a row. They lose a close game to the Panthers. I mean, I don't think they're a very good football team, but they can easily be a 5-3, 6-2 type of team. Do you like them with the points here against Dallas?
Yeah, Q, it's crazy because they're 4-4 right now, and they're the playoffs started to be the 7th seed. So they're a dangerous team, but erratic, and that 9 points is a lot in my opinion. And the way Dallas played last week, and Dak looked very rusty in this game, let's face it. I'd probably take this point and then go with Atlanta in that one.
Two things that stand out. I think they're showing you they have enough talent to compete. And I haven't heard too many people say this, but I think one of the most underrated players this year in the NFL who's made a great impact on a team is Cordell Patterson for Atlanta. I mean, it seems like every week this guy's having big play after big play after big play, whether it's receiving, whether it's rushing, whether it's kickoff. He's got 7 total touchdowns, close to 700-something odd yards. I think he's got 300 or so in kick. So he's well over 1,000 all-purpose yards. But, this guy just consummate pro, goes out there and he makes some plays.
Yeah, and he's listed as a running back, but he's a Swiss Army. Like, they move him all around the formation, as you're saying. And he's ready to help out in a variety of ways. Calvin Ridley's not going to play with his mental issue. And, they're leaning on Cordell Patterson to make some big plays because, let's face it, Mike Davis, who's the other running back, he's not doing that much at this stage in his career. But Matt Ryan likes throwing the ball at Patterson, and I still believe he's going to make some big plays in Dallas this week.
The game I already grabbed, I got it earlier today, Tennessee laying 3 against the Saints. Tennessee at home. I don't believe there's going to be a quote-unquote letdown. I just think they're the better team. I look at Tannehill. He just flat-out makes plays. He doesn't really turn the ball over. He's not careless. I think this is an opportunity for Brown to go off. I think they're going to open it up a little bit against the Saints. I don't like New Orleans in this spot. Again, Tennessee's laying 3. Total is 44, juice to the over at 44.5. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Q, I'd have to agree with you there. And the way Trevor Siemian played for the Saints, he just wasn't doing much out there on the field. And I was surprised they didn't use Taysom Hill more. And we talked about Tennessee earlier. They're a physical team. They get after the quarterback. And if they hit Siemian, he's going to make mistakes. So I definitely think they're going to cover that number, Tennessee.
How about this game? New England, all of a sudden, what do they won? 4 in a row. They look hot. They're 5-4. I think just quietly going about their business. Now you got a Browns team coming off that big win. The defense had the big play against Cincinnati. Browns are 5-4. This is a huge game for AFC playoff implications. New England's laying 1.5, and again, the total number is 45, juice to the over. A part of me wants – I don't believe as much as others do in New England, but part of me says, you know what? Mac Jones, they're running the football. I think their defense is underrated. I think it was more about Cincinnati than Cleveland the other day. I actually like New England in this spot.
Well, Q, this is a tough one because, as you're saying, very close line there. And, who wants it more? Both 5 and 4 fighting for that last playoff spot in the AFC. And, I think I'm going to go Cleveland here. Defensive coordinator Joe Woods has this unit playing, and you have Denzel Ward with his very sticky hands back there, and still Mac Jones is a rookie. And you're talking about the Patriots who've won a variety of ways on special teams, defense, and I think that Cleveland's kind of turned a page. After getting rid of Odell, they kind of banded together, so I think they get a good road win this week.
Very, very interesting. I know a lot of people were killing Mac Jones too, calling that one play dirty. I mean, I don't think that kid had any intent to hurt the Panthers player. And the Panthers. I mean, I think they're pretty much done with Sam Darnold. He's seeing ghost again. I mean, if I am I am a better, but I'm just saying going forward, I look at Carolina. And I probably start to lean them the rest of the way. Now, Arizona's laying 10 against the Panthers. I think you might have to look at a new head coach, as crazy as it sounds. And, again, you're going to have to draft a quarterback because Sam Darnold ain't the answer.
Yeah, Matt Rule's on a hot seat. And I know he got a pretty big contract when he was brought in there. But, this team's in total disarray. It looks like maybe P.J. Walker, as we were saying, starting a quarterback. And Arizona, the way they're getting after the quarterback, that's just not a good thing. That 10 points is a lot. I'd probably try to tease it down. But I think Kyler Murray's going to play in this game, and as well as A.J. Green and D-Hop. So it should be a good win for Arizona, and I think they could get close to that 10, but you definitely probably want to get it a little lower.
Yeah, it's a good point. When I saw the line creep up from 9 to 9.5 to 10, all indication basically says you're getting some reinforcements back in Arizona. You got the Vikings and the Chargers. Here's another game that I like because, I have a man crush on Justin Herbert, who just lit up the Philadelphia Eagles. The Vikings, thank God they covered in an ugly game. I mean, Cook was running all over the place against Baltimore, and then it's just Zimmer. He's like McCarthy. He's going to be out. Vikings on the road. I love the Chargers in this spot. The number is 2.5, 52.5 for the total. 4:05 kickoff. What say you in this one?
Yeah, the Vikings are going to keep the game close, and they're going to make some big plays with Jefferson and the rest of their guys. But, Mike Zimmer, I kind of agree with you. He's on a hot seat there, and this team will find a way to lose. And this will probably be a field goal game, and I'll go with the Chargers in this one. Herbert, as you saw, smart quarterback. He's going to be efficient with the football. And then Eckler's running the ball downhill. So, I think they'll get after Kirk Cousins. He'll make some mistakes, and the Chargers will cover that low number.
Is Teddy Checkdown, a.k.a. Two Gloves, a.k.a. ATS, going to complete 80% of his passes? Denver's laying 2.5. I mean, this guy's already completing 70.2. He's not going to take a ton of shots down the field, but quietly, he's really put together a nice season. Well over 2,000 yards. He's probably going to throw for about 28 to 29 touchdowns this year. He'll probably have about 35, 3,600 yards. So the numbers I thought I was going to get last year from Bridgewater, he's actually doing it in Denver. I love Denver in this spot because I think the Eagles' defense stinks. I don't think they can stop the run, to be quite honest with you. And I think Denver will do just enough to cover that number.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you here. The Eagles have just not looked good the last couple of weeks. And the thing with Denver is you got to watch their running game. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon ran for 191 rushing yards and a touchdown against Dallas. And the Eagles have had trouble all season stopping the run. And you're probably right with Teddy Bridgewater. He's going to complete a lot of passes to those receivers. They have Jerry Jeudy and the rest of those guys back, so he's got his full complement of receivers. We'll see if Vance back, and, that's a very dangerous lineup to go against the Eagles team that's kind of struggling at this point. So I think Denver win this game, and it may be by a touchdown.
Yeah, and they're averaging 4.5 yards a carry. You've got Seattle. It looks like Wilson will be back. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. They're at home laying 3. I just don't think Seattle is a very good football team, to be quite honest with you. And if you got to throw Geno Smith out there, or you think you might have to, I would grab this right now at 3. I think Rodgers plays. Now, again, if it's Jordan Love out there, you can probably see this number shift to maybe a pick 'em.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch it. We know that Russell Wilson's coming back, and, I'm just not sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to be ready. If he comes in on a Saturday, is he going to play Sunday? So, if it's a pick 'em, I definitely go with Seattle here. I think Russell Wilson just gives them some jump on his team. They have a lot of injuries, but I think he finds a way to win this game and get back in the playoff hunt. So they're 3-5 right now, Seattle, and they really need this game. Green Bay doesn't need as much.
Yeah, I think, this is a play where you basically just might look at the closing line, to be honest, and wait to see what happens Sunday to put a ticket in. You got the Chiefs and the Raiders. Let me ask you this on the Raiders. You look at everything that's transpired with Ruggs, the cornerback, John Gruden. I mean, that was a bad spot for them, cross-country, a lot of issues. Give the Giants credit. But if you're the Raiders and you're Mike Mayock or you're the Raiders brass, do you have confidence in Mike Mayock knowing that they've had to cut all these players? I mean, there's so many red flags. It just seems as though, if all of a sudden this goes south for the Raiders and they only win 6-7 games after having a really nice start, what do you do with Mayock?
Yeah, and Mayock was a handpicked guy of John Gruden, and it's easier to be an analyst. Now he's making picks, and I think he fell in love with a lot of these guys watching tape in college football, and some of these guys just did not equate to the NFL and fitting in with the team. So, Mayock is definitely on a hot seat, and they need this team to kind of turn around. Right now, they're 5-3. They're going to play KC, who's their biggest rival, and I still believe that Mahomes and Tyreek Hill can still drive the football down the field. So this could be a real good game, fun game to watch, and I would look at the over in this game because they're going to put up some points.
51.5. All right, lastly, the Rams and 49ers. Monday Night Football, the Rams right now sitting at 4. Total number is 49. I mean, the 49ers, that's another team, right? When are they going to bench Jimmy Garoppolo if they go to Lance? Whew. I mean, right now they're 3-5. They're questioning the quarterback. They're questioning the head coach. They have not played well. That 2-0 start looks like it's light years ago. I love the Rams in this spot.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan has to start thinking about saving his job, and this is a tough situation because, the Rams are going to come in there angry, and they have Von Miller and Donald getting after the quarterback. So I think Jimmy G will make some mistakes. You'll see Cooper Kupp make some big plays down the field, and the Rams will get back on the right side of things.
All right, my friend. Excellent stuff as always. We always look forward to the lackeys and the game balls. I can't believe you gave it to poor Jordan Love. Unbelievable. Give Lloyd a follow on Twitter at Lloyd Vance, NFL senior writer, researcher, historian as well, PFWA award winner, and, of course, contributing editor and reporter, NFL Network, ESPN as well, BCFHOF selection committee. All right, my friend, we will talk next week. Enjoy the games, pal.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, our pleasure. Quick timeout. Good stuff from Lloyd.